So a little bit about myself. My name's Talon Miller. I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm a major skier. You kind of have to be if you grow up here or if you live here. The picture on the right is Mineral Basin in Snowbird, one of my favorite places on Earth. And then the picture on the bottom is my wife, Olivia. We don't have any kids, but we're just enjoying the kidless life at the moment. I started my career a long time ago at Oracle as a systems engineer as I was going through school. I was lucky enough that they gave me a shot while I was still doing school full time. So that was nice of them. And from there, I was part of a crypto startup a long time ago, the early days of crypto. And then I specialized in school for data science. And so I got a data science job at Domo. And for those who don't know Domo, it's a BI company. And got to work with some really cool PhD level data scientists back in the day when it was the sexiest job on earth. So that was really fun. And then Redis called. So I've been at Redis for a couple of years now, doing technical marketing for them. As most of us probably know, you need someone technical in order to, market these technical products. So that's what I do for them. So let's get into it. So yeah, agenda for today. Talking about hybrid cloud. I'm going to start with some of the basics. So hopefully I don't bore you to death in the beginning, but I'll go quick. As we know, businesses work to modernize their legacy systems. One of the steps is to start moving workloads off of on-prem to the cloud. Naturally, a hybrid cloud architecture is created to facilitate this modernization. But it isn't just a temporary solution. It's one of the most popular architectures out there because of its many benefits. In my presentation today, we will cover the hybrid cloud architecture from a high-level view. What is it? Why is it popular? When it doesn't make sense for businesses to use this architecture? Are there any challenges for businesses to use this? And then we'll take an in-depth look at how Redis plays in this hybrid cloud deployment. We'll cover consistency, flexibility, security, scalability, cost, and finish going over the various ways we can deploy Redis in this type of architecture. So let's dive in. So a hybrid cloud is when we have an application, product, or service running in a combination of different infrastructures. The most common hybrid example, of course, which we've been discussing this entire series or this webinar today, is combining on-prem with cloud. And so we'll go into why it's popular. So it's popular because no one really can entirely rely on a single infrastructure. Historically, businesses started on-premises data centers to support their product or service. This means millions and millions of dollars were invested in infrastructure and expertise over the past few decades. And companies won't want to just abandon this investment, even if they wanted to move most of their data layer to the public cloud. Plus, there are actually quite a few industries out there where it's simply not feasible for them to leave their private data centers. For example, businesses with regulatory compliance mandates like HIPAA and PCI, and many more. And businesses that have either a limited budget or a small footprint. And there's many other options. I've worked with so many businesses out there, especially in the BI industry, where we're trying to take their sensitive data and visualize it, where they're like, look, we're not okay with putting this on certain types of cloud environments. We're not okay with it being outside of our very secured, boundaried, on-prem. There's so many examples out there where it's just simply not possible to get away from that on-prem footprint. A hybrid approach allows you to decide where to run your workloads. This helps with the governance and sensitive data that needs to be kept in private data centers. Performance-wise, pinning a product or service against an on-prem data center provides only good latency for those who are within the proximity of that data center, while distributing the product or service across remote locations in the cloud will provide much better response times across many regions. In regard to cost, typically using a public cloud is better for the cost for those more dynamic workloads where it's hard to predict throughput, which is why so many startups start almost entirely on the cloud. They're going to build an app and they don't know what throughput they're going to expect. Well, let's use the cloud, right? So And usually there's services on the cloud that usually exist that will help you scale up or down the resources, as we've talked about with the serverless architecture, where we can elastically use it as we need it. Instead of just sinking cost into permanent on-prem infrastructure, not to mention the acquisition time for new hardware. And that's just the start of many benefits of hybrid cloud deployment. But before we move on to other great reasons why hybrid makes a lot of sense, it's important to note that setting up and maintaining a hybrid cloud deployment doesn't come without its challenges. First off, compatibility between legacy applications and public cloud services will prevent companies from getting started. From a complexity standpoint, security and access control gets complicated because we simply just have more doors and windows to lock. More security, maintenance, and patching, additionally getting control on observability after distributing data across multiple environments. And another important one to mention is data consistency across all environments. It's common for businesses to underestimate the complexity of getting data to be consistently accurate and persistent across multiple environments and regions. And that's where Redis Enterprise comes into the picture as a simplified approach to getting that hybrid cloud architecture with best-in-class speed, data consistency, and high availability in a real-time data solution. You can scale your data layer consistently across clouds, on-prem, hybrid, and the globe. So let's talk about consistency. I feel like consistency, honestly, isn't talked about enough in this industry. And so I think it's important to get these points across. So there are quite a few considerations for keeping data consistent in your application. The first one's very obvious: improved data quality. Keeping data consistent across the data layer helps to ensure that data is accurate, up to date, and ensures that data is reliable and can be used for analysis and decision making. Second, reduced data duplication. By keeping data organized and consistent across the data layer, duplicate data can be avoided, helping reduce data storage costs as well as save time and effort on retrieving data. Third, improved performance, something that we never think about when it comes to consistency. We never relate performance to consistency, but it's so true. Consistent data across that data layer can help to optimize query performance and reduce data retrieval time, thus improving system performance and user experience. And finally, security. Keeping data consistent across the data layer can ensure that only authorized users have access to sensitive data, preventing data breaches and other security issues. So let's talk about elastic scaling. It's been mentioned a couple of times because of the serverless deployment that's been so popular. Redis Enterprise on cloud can help with automatic elastic scaling, which allows you to use it as you need it. With the seasonal demand changing throughput needs dramatically, you need a flexible and scalable solution, which makes Redis Enterprise a great fit for any size workload, product, customer, or service, large or small. Flexibility. So Redis Enterprise provides flexibility while deploying across multiple environments, providing quick ways to get started in any of the preferred cloud vendors. And setting up an active cluster in Redis Enterprise Cloud allows data to be accessed from anywhere, reducing the latency for nearby users, and at the same time, establishing high availability, guaranteeing 5 nines of availability, which is equivalent to less than 26 seconds of downtime per month, which is insane. So what about security? We've talked about it quite a bit already on this call. So I hope this image isn't too poor for you, but I'll try to describe it for us. So Redis Enterprise Software, our on-prem software solution, is the more customizable Redis for your on-prem needs, and you can really hone in on the security and access control and regulatory compliance requirements. So we know that data security and governments are really important. Redis Enterprise Software enables real-time use cases, even for those who have regulatory compliance mandates. I think a lot of the times when we speak to some customers who are, oh, well, we need to keep a lot of our data on-prem because of security reasons, they think, oh, no, like we can't have like super high performance, high throughput. But it's not true. With Redis Enterprise Software, you can have that real-time response on your on-prem private data centers for your more sensitive data. And you can seamlessly connect that to your public cloud for your dynamic workloads. And so to describe what we're seeing here, and the image is of our support of internode encryption, which encrypts internal communication between nodes, improving the security of data as it travels within a cluster, enabled for the control plane, which manages the cluster and its databases. Then below the control plane is the data plane, which encrypts communication used to replicate shards between nodes and proxy communication with shards located on different nodes. So it's highly complicated, but it's incredibly secure. And we'll go on to observability. So I mentioned as we start to distribute data across different environments, it becomes a huge headache to get a single unified view of some of the observability. And that's taken care of with our integration with Datadog, Prometheus, Grafana, and New Relic, making it super easy to get that view that you need to see all your Redis databases with. Plus, in my opinion, the best Redis GUI out there, Redis Insight, which is our powerful desktop manager to visualize and optimize Redis data. So pay as you grow. One of the biggest challenges moving some workloads to the cloud is controlling the cost. It can really start to get out of hand with the layering of multiple services and continuous scale. You can scale up and down depending on the throughput when you need it. Over provisioning is a challenge in any architecture, but at least in the public cloud environment, it can be easy as a few clicks to scale down those costs. Plus, Redis on Flash is there too to help with the costs. You can move larger data sets into SSD, keeping the data warm, but it's not nearly as expensive as having it in memory. Imagine you can have and maintain the same level of performance while saving up to 70% on database cost simply by using Redis on Flash and its automatic data tiering mechanism, as I described before. So deployment options, which is going to be the last thing I cover. So Redis Enterprise can be set up on-prem on a private server. It's pretty quickly. You can do it pretty quick. So you can install the Redis Enterprise binaries. You can deploy a simple Docker container or do a seamless Kubernetes deployment. Martin, like yourself, sounds like you've become a huge fan of containers, huge fan of Kubernetes. That's my preferred method whenever I'm setting up Redis or Redis Enterprise. It's even easier on the cloud, obviously, no matter what your preferred cloud vendor is. And then, yeah, obviously all the different supported distributions for Kubernetes like GKE, AKS, EKS, and many more. And there's really no other Redis that is better integrated with Kubernetes. I've worked with many Redis open source companies that are trying to optimize Kubernetes and Redis. It is extremely difficult, but we have a Redis Enterprise operator for Kubernetes, which automates everything and it makes it so much easier to deploy. I've written about this and I've made a bunch of videos about this. And what's something really exciting that's coming out in the next month or so is we're adding active deployment to our Kubernetes, which is insane. So if anyone's ever set up an active before, which is essentially setting up clusters in multiple regions, you'll be able to do that with like 2 lines and a YAML file with Kubernetes, and it'll take less than like 5 minutes. So insane. So I'm really excited about that. With that, that's our ways we can deploy. Adopting a hybrid cloud architecture has never been easier than it is today. Empower your product, service, or application with a distributed real-time architecture through Redis Enterprise. Try Redis Enterprise Cloud for free and see how easy it is to move workloads off of your on-prem databases. Or is your organization thinking about using Kubernetes? Download our Redis Enterprise operator for Kubernetes to give it a test drive. Thanks.